Savenaca to all. I think it's best that we keep on with our time. We don't want to run on the Pacific time or Fiji time. We would like to keep on the Australian time. That is, we're supposed to start at 11 o'clock. But yeah, another warm greetings to everyone that are here on behalf of the Speaker SOC, APR IGF, and the organizing committee, our sponsors, AUDA, yes, ICANN, and Internet NZ, APTLD, and the Pacific Island chapter of Internet Society. I would like to welcome you again to this event, the PAC IGF event 2023. We'll be taking on the session number 2. And we have a couple of speakers ready to present to us. Unfortunately, we couldn't have our representative from PNG joining us. He sent his apologies this morning that he has an urgent meeting to attend to. But hopefully the 2 speakers that we will have for us this morning will be able to share some thought-provoking ideas that will be able to encourage some discussions after our session this morning. And with that, I would like to welcome us to the session this morning, where we will be talking about the threats and opportunities of emerging technologies, AI, and other new technologies. We will be having Sam Saili from Skyeye, Samoa, be presenting to us first, before we'll have our local presenter, Mr. Craig Kirkland from MasterCard, to be presenting to us. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, let us give a warm welcome to Mr. Sam, joining us from Samoa. Thank you, Mr. Sam.
Hello, Flava. Savenaca. Just double checking if everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moderator. It is a privilege and honor to present and address the audience today. A special thank you to PICA-SOC for the great privilege. I understand we have a very limited time, so I'm going to go straight into mostly what was requested to present on today. Now, Skyeye Pacific is a Samoa founded company, a family founded company, and we are mostly a geospatial technology company, but in recent years, we have moved into the e-commerce platform. And our company Skyeye created, owns 100% of the IP of the Maua app. But due to what the discussion of today, I'm going to be presenting mostly on the security and the use of emerging technologies on the platform. So when we're looking at security, we do have to look at the platform as a whole. The platform is hosted on AWS and it's using the Elastic Compute version 2. And because most of the Pacific terminate their internet into Australia, Sydney to be specific, through the Southern Cross, this is where we host our platform. And the security of AWS, I believe it is well known. It's got all the documentation, and I cannot recall any issues of any security breach of AWS, so much so that I understand a lot of military operations are hosted on AWS. So security-wise, we have done our due diligence on that, and we see Amazon AWS as one of the most secure platforms to host our Maua app. But when we look at internally to the platform itself, in order to register and log in, we now utilize the two-factor authentication, which is the default security authentication for most platforms. We utilize either a mobile phone number or Facebook login. So we've integrated with Facebook's authentication as well. And if you're on Apple, we're also integrated into Apple's ID authentication. Now, we don't use email addresses for authentication because our platform is catered or targeting our rural population in order to be part of the digital economy. So, and our research shows that at least only about 5% of our rural population have email addresses. So we utilize mobile number instead. So when you register or when you log in, you put in your phone number, and then the platform will send you an OTP or one-time PIN that you can then log in and authenticate. So the platform checks that you are registered with this phone number, and then it will send you that OTP for you to log in. In terms of payments, because this is an e-commerce platform, it does have a lot of payment methods integrated into it. And this is critical for any e-commerce platform, for the security of its payment platform or methods to be secure. So with the Maua app, we have actually 5 different payment methods integrated into the platform. And each of these have its own authentication because it utilizes different payment platforms. So for cash or e-vouchers, we utilize our internal OTP platform. So you put in your phone number, and then it will check that you owns this, or you've been registered with this phone number, and then it sends you an OTP code to verify that you want to pay this order using cash or e-voucher. If you're using Digicel's mobile money or MyCash, our platform has been integrated through APIs and VPN tunneling directly into Digicel's mobile money platform. And then it now is at the back end, it's actually talking to Digicel's platform, and then it will send an OTP from Digicel's platform. If you see that code up there, that's actually from Digicel's platform. So it's actually handing over the authentication to Digicel's platform. This is the same as Vodafone's mobile money. If you choose to use Vodafone's mobile money, you will also be redirected to the portal of Vodafone. And now all the interaction there is actually happening on Vodafone's platform. And finally, if you do wish to pay by card, Skyeye is registered in Australia, and this is the only way we're being able to integrate with Stripe. And it's also important to note that the Maua app doesn't keep any of the authentication information of our clients. So once you choose either mobile money or credit card, you will be redirected to these platforms' own portal, because this is the most important part. And I do have some concerns with some of the apps that are in the Pacific that now offer to save credit card information on the app itself, whether they have been verified by the PCI DSS standard. And this standard, it costs at least 100,000 USD dollars to get to that standard and then to maintain it every year. So we do not keep any of this information because of the security risk, not only to us, but also to our customers. So this is how we're trying to make sure that our payment methods are secure. And if there's any issues that hopefully will never happen, that our system gets compromised, they will not be able to get any payment information of our clients. So moving on to the emerging technology that we're using. The platform, the MOA app, is a full-featured e-commerce platform. So there's 4 different apps. There's the buyer app, there's the seller app, there's the driver app, and then there's the admin team or the admin app. So anything that happens between these platforms or these apps, they're all synced together. So as an example of the buyer app, so it has full features like it's got points, loyalty points, it's got messages, it's got favorite lists, and we also have translated the app into Samoan and Bislama, as well as in English. This is an example of the vendor side of things. Now, we also integrate dashboards for our vendors so that now they, especially for our rural vendors, this is the first time that they have data analytics available to them of their operations. A few stats of the platform. We have over probably close to 16,000 registered users. We do verify that 60% of them are female. We've processed and completed over 23,000 orders. The World Bank actually uses our platform for e-vouchers that they distribute grants. And we have very strong community partnerships. Now, our planned improvements. Now, emerging technologies such as AI, we have and we are starting to develop this. We're in the testing phase of utilizing ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, and we're starting to teach these our own internal AI knowledge bank. So that, because one of the major issues that we find with our small vendors is that they don't have much time to dedicate into updating their app, into answering questions on Facebook, into taking calls and things like that, so that the normal admin work, our small vendors don't have the capacity or the resources to hire people to answer phone calls, to answer Facebook messages, update their app, and things like that. So this is where we're starting to train our AI to help our vendors as well as our buyers automate a lot of these tasks, these administrative tasks, like updating the pricing list, updating which products are available, looking for particular, answering questions from buyers, because all the products and information is loaded into the platform. So we are training the AI to utilize all that information to answer back. And we're also starting to train it in Samoan and Bislama, because this is important if we want this, this kind of technology to be applicable for our people. And then last but not least, the new way that we want to make sure that we utilize the data that we're collecting. And of course, we are going through all the necessary best practice of data, of handling data, but we are also now developing our AI to look at data analytics of all the data that we have and be able to present this to our vendors as well as our stakeholders so that they can utilize data for marketing, for targeting, and also picking up on any issues that they're having with their operations. So this is very, I believe my time is up. So wanted to give you a little bit of detail of what we're developing and utilizing the emerging technology. I know there are risks in AI, but we are also making sure that we address all of those by keeping certain information separate and only the AI only able to access information that we want or we put in the data bank for them to respond and provide to external parties. And if you want to learn more, those are my contacts, as well as if you want to try out the MAWA app, you can go ahead with those QR codes. Thank you again very much for the opportunity, and I'll hand it back to our moderator. Whaftai lava.
Nakawalebu Sam, thank you very much for the informative presentation. I know that the Pacific Islands are moving towards digital currency, development of a lot of applications in this area, digital wallets that have been developed in the Pacific Islands, and we are very thankful for Sam for allowing us to learn more about the Maua app. And we are very fortunate to see that they've used the latest technology to improve on the security and also the customer services that they will provide in their applications. We've got some time, and I would like to, since we have Sam online, we would like to invite if there's any questions from the audience that they would like to ask or seek clarification from our presenter online. We will give this time for them to ask Sam while we still have him online. So any questions or comments? Yes, madam.
Thank you, moderator. Thanks, Sam, for the great presentation. Pretty amazing. I think we're taking the same path on developing apps. I have a question. What is your experience and your take on the adoption of your mobile app in Samoa, especially from onboarding your, what they call merchant or agent, or probably the users? Thank you.
Thank you. So it is quite, because this platform and most platforms are, these kind of platforms very new to the Pacific. It does take some time for them to learn, but also to trust the platform. So it is a lot of engagements that we have to work with our, we usually partner with those that our target audience already trust. That is very important. We do partnership because we don't pretend to know everything. And therefore we partner with like organizations like Women in Business, Samoa Business Hub. So those partners or people that have been doing the groundwork for many, many years that the public trust. And so it's important to do partnership. It is a key in order to get the buy-in from those that you're hoping to utilize the platform. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sam. I think he highlighted it well. The need for collaboration and partnership, not only with your local vendors, but with also the vendors who have been involved in this technology for years. And one thing that we can note is that through the Maua app, he uses all the telcos, ISP providers that is available in Samoa. And that will not provide inconvenience to people who are not in any of the services, ISP. So something to think about when we are creating the apps is to provide inclusive and get the options out to the customers so that they don't need to be manipulated or feel otherwise in any sense. But do we have any other questions from the audience? I think we can also pick up that he's using the chat box AI. Hopefully we can use this technology to develop and address the services that are needed in our local Pacific Island countries. If we can enable it to also provide services in the local language, in the local vernaculars. Apart from being the generic English language, which most of our digital migrant, the beyond computers generation will be able to understand and have accessibility to the services that are provided. But if we don't have any other questions to the team, do we have any other who would like to ask Sam for any? Yeah, we got one there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I am Maristella from the Philippines. So I'm concerned actually on data privacy. So I believe Samoa doesn't have a data protection law. Am I correct? So
That's correct.
as an app that is catered for digital payments. So how do you ensure the privacy of your consumers?
Right. Thank you. Now, although Samoa doesn't have a privacy act, data privacy act yet, there is already quite a lot of work in drafting, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's now being put through the approval process. But for the MAUA app itself, we utilize the data privacy legislation of New Zealand, because usually our Pacific Islands will adopt a version of legislation from New Zealand or Australia. So we are utilizing that New Zealand's data privacy legislation to create our own data privacy policies in the MAUA app. And I mentioned, like with the credit card payments, Skyeye cannot become a PCI compliant because it can cost, and Kirk will probably correct me on this one, it can cost up to $1 million tala just to be able to be compliant. So it's better not to try to create your own, but to use partners that already that are compliant. And that's why our platform does not keep any credit card details, because it is not compliant with the data privacy law of New Zealand. And when Samoa's data privacy laws come in, we would be compliant if Samoa is adopting a version of New Zealand's data privacy legislation.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. And I think that goes to all the Pacific Island countries that are still trying to work on their privacy laws. We'll have the last question from the back, and then we will move on to the next presentation.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for your presentation. My name's Dave from APNIC. Would having an internet exchange point in Samoa that all the participants, all of the ISPs are connected at, make your job a lot easier rather than having to deal with each individual carrier?
Thank you for that. I've definitely the responsiveness of the platform will certainly be faster, but because it eventually has to go outside, as eventually has to go outside, I think I can't verify or quantify how much benefit it is for our platform in particular. But overall, I completely understand the benefits of a local exchange, IXP, because when you're dealing with a lot more dynamic and a lot more content, especially videos and things like that, then absolutely a local IXP will be the preferred option. But for our platform, yes, it will have benefits, but I can't quantify because most of our traffic is text and not too much on video and photos. So I can't quantify it, but I know it will benefit. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sam. I see the hands start going up, but yeah, we'll get that question to you, Sam. Hopefully, you can still join us. But there's a good suggestion made by Dave from APNIC, and I know that a lot of us here have similar challenges in our own country. Something that we could consider as we try to find solution for the Pacific Island countries. We'll have that question, please. Jobes, can you?
I don't have a question for Sam, but I feel obligated to answer the questions on behalf of Sam, because this is a matter for government. And I do agree that Samoa is currently working on the overall review of the legislations and the IXP, which I feel very grateful for this organization for mentioning it, because we are having issues with ISPs trying to connect, which is government's obligation to get them connected, and have all these laws to help people like Sam and his company and other companies to become helpers for the Samoan economy and the Pacific as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sam, I hope that you can still continue to join us until the end of the session. Maybe there will be more questions that will be directed to you, and you'll be available. Thank you, Sam. But talking about security challenges, I know that the Pacific has a very unique security challenges. One that we currently face in Fiji is on the prevalent cybercrime scams that are happening in Fiji. And one of the sophisticated one that is currently ongoing is called the eBay scam, eBay shop. They pretended to be from the eBay, Google eBay thing, but the dangers in this eBay scam is that they are given to those who registered are given an application to download and install in their app that shows some activities like a cryptocurrency exchange. Now, this is a challenge to other app developers, because these unknown applications in any devices that have the same applications such as Maui app will provide some sort of security threat. And hopefully we can also have a discussion on that. But anyway, I would like to welcome the next speaker, Craig Kirkland. Sam has mentioned about MasterCard. Well, we have the MasterCard representative here with us. So hold your questions till for later. He won't be issuing any free MasterCards for today. But yeah, let's welcome, give a round of warm welcome to Craig. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Save. Good morning, everybody. To start with, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we meet today, those past, present, and also into the future. I'm just making up time here because I just put the wrong password in, but I'm really privileged to be here today. I feel privileged to be here today. It didn't take me less than 1 second to want to participate in this. And what I want to share with you today is what we're doing in the Pacific and show you our dedication to the region, what we're sort of thinking of. We get around quite a bit and talk to people. We have really good talanoa across the region to get ideas, not from government, not from banks, but people, particularly SMEs, female SMEs in particular, who are, I would argue, the backbone of the economies in the Pacific. And I'll share with you today what we're doing at the moment and what we're engaged in, including our focus. Yeah, so brief intro. I've been with MasterCard for on and off for 23 years, I think, both as a contractor and now as an employee for the last 13, sorry. Done a lot of work in New Zealand, obviously a lot of work in Australia, working with big organizations, small organizations, business groups, things like that. But in the last sort of 7 years, I've been solely focused on the Pacific. So I don't have any other role within MasterCard. I'm solely focused on the Pacific, which means for us, from a geographical perspective, is everything from Guam right out to American Samoa, Cook Islands, south of that, except for our French territories, they roll into France. So, so everything sort of in between. And I'll talk about our focus, e-commerce landscape in the Pacific, the work we're doing, and then some government aid projects that we're delivering at the moment. So I'm using two clickers here. So what I'd like to say from the outset is, as it says there, Amazon's not a river, Apple's not a fruit, we're not a credit card company. We don't issue credit cards to anybody. That's all done by the banks who are licensed by us. We don't set merchant fees. We don't do any of that. That's what the banks and that do. So that gives you an idea of the ecosystem within which we work in, but it still enables us to deliver great outcomes. So we have data services because we're obviously very rich in data. We don't see personal information, but we see every transaction that happens in every one of your markets and where it happens. And that all makes sense in a minute. We run loyalty, test and learn. We have a whole cyber and intelligence business within our organization, which makes sense. We're a global network. Probably shouldn't say that we've never been hacked because that brings you bad luck, but we're unrelenting on our focus around security, which is important for the work we do in the Pacific as well. We want people to be safe and secure. We have tech hubs. And the last two, which should resonate with the audience, is we have the MasterCard Foundation, which we established in 2006, which is primarily focused in Africa, but we also have the Center for Inclusive Growth. So we have someone in Singapore who I deal with, plus I also deal with because of the work we're doing, we're getting much more sort of attention from our global team as well, which is good because I don't have a lot of money and they do. So it's really helpful. So this is our focus, but I'll start with what I've got written on the left there. And in 2000, a bit after 2006, we listed as on the US Stock Exchange in 2006. And then shortly after that, we had a new CEO. So we were a very US-centric company prior to that. And then we had Mr. RJ Bunga, who's now with the World Bank. He was our CEO, and he delivered an ethos to our company called doing well by doing good. And that's really good for me because what it means is I can do the sort of work that we're doing without a really hard and fast focus on return on investment or how much money we're making. Essentially, if you do good, you'll do well at the back end of that. And that's actually working for us. So that's, the accountants are always on my back and finance team, but I know that what we're doing is delivering great outcomes and therefore all of that. So obviously financial inclusion is huge for us. And I would say that we hear a lot about people being unbanked, and that's a problem. Obviously it can be, but I think the Pacific Islands have been underserved for quite a long time. And I think we focus on being underserved as opposed to underbanked, we can deliver great outcomes. So obviously there's people, there's SMEs and the local or Indigenous banks. And I'll share with those that we've brought on board. Digitization is huge. That's a transition away from cash-heavy economies into good digital outcomes. The technology delivers good outcomes for people. And again, we'll show you some examples of that. The other thing too, when we talk about financial inclusion in our world, it's not just about giving someone a card or that capability, but we've got to include SMEs in all of this. And whether that's face-to-face SMEs or e-commerce SMEs, because the e-commerce opportunity in the Pacific is really undervalued, and I don't think people have given it enough thought. I know people in this room have, but I think if you look at what the Pacific has to offer to a very discerning consumer globally, it's goods, produce, artworks, you name it, with really strong provenance, organic provenance, fair trade, all of that sort of thing. And that's what consumers are after. But the market's been held back because of a misperception of risk. in the banking sector. So I've got to be careful what I say about that, but that's the reality, and I want to be very transparent here. And then what we've also seen since COVID is that merchants generally now have a capability to be omni-channel. So that's have a capacity to sell direct face-to-face to somebody, but also trade online as that same business. And we think that's a really good opportunity for people. An example of that is, if I'm in Port Vila, I go in, I buy a big wooden pig or something like that. I take it home. Everyone admires my new wooden pig and wants to know where they can get one. Well, if we enable these SMEs to be able to sell their stuff online, well, there's after sales opportunity and that sort of thing. Thought leadership. So we run a lot of forums, but quite well curated, I would suggest, and quite relevant for the region. And I'll touch on those. Tourism is a huge part of the Pacific economy as well. It ties into SMEs. SMEs are part of the visitor experience to all of your countries and that sort of thing. So we're looking at ways to leverage our capabilities, primarily in loyalty, to be able to put packages and on-ground spend into the banking apps of consumers all around the world. And the last one is advocacy. Through the work that we've been doing, it requires significant advocacy on our part to partner with people like yourselves, partner with Sam. So Sam is an also for us. We bring him to conferences to talk about his SME experience, to try and break this sort of impasse that we have about enabling SMEs to trade online or even be included to accept some sort of payment that's non-cash. And what Sam didn't point out in his presentation is, you notice he was with Stripe in New Zealand. That's because he can't get acquired by a bank in Samoa. And that's not good enough anymore, not this day and age. When I first started in the Pacific, one of the main things I heard was that there's no payment gateways in the Pacific. And I'm here to tell you there is. So ANZ and Westpac in particular, the payment gateway they use is our gateway. It's a world-class gateway used in 200 plus countries around the world. So the gateway is there. Kina Bank has a gateway. BSP has a gateway. And the good news is, which is what I want to share today, to give you an idea about this misperception of risk that impacts on SMEs being able to trade online, is what we call EMV 3D Secure. So EMV is a standard setting organization. We used to have what we used to call 3DS1. That's now gone. And now we have 3DS2. So I'm going to share a bit of that with you to give you what I think is actually good news and something we need to get everyone to wrap their minds around for that. So as I said, we used to have 3DS 1.0. Now we've got today 3DS2. So there's quite a significant difference. And one of the main differences is that people are using a lot of different devices now to buy things online. So before it was, usually a PC, a laptop, something like that. And it had very minimal sort of data collection capabilities around that. But what we've got now with 3DS2 is a whole lot more data in which to validate a consumer. So in the past, when banks were looking at, and still do, look at trying to predict fraud, they look at transactional patterns to see if this transaction fits with a person's normal spend behavior, or they'll have some other sort of business rules around potential fraudulent transactions. But now that people are using devices, you have all the security elements of devices now to now look at validating a customer. So on the left there, you had very few things to sort of try and risk score a transaction. But what we're doing now is we're actually validating the customer, which is a much better way to determine who's on the other end of that transaction. So it's as you can see, it's much, much stronger. So that enables the cardholder's bank to approve or decline or what we call step up a transaction with much more sort of confidence than what we see. And this is where I believe the good news is. So I won't take you through all of this. So what used to happen with e-commerce or any card not present transaction in the past was, if there was an unauthorized transaction and it got disputed by the actual cardholder, not the person making the fraudulent transaction, the loss for that transaction used to sit with the acquiring bank and then the merchant, which means the merchant would ship goods, they'd lose those goods and they'd lose the value of the transaction, which is why the banks have an old mindset of this is risky. But that's all changed now. So what happens now is, if you're 3DS enabled, as all the gateways in the Pacific are, it means that liability shift for the transaction no longer sits with the merchant. It sits with the cardholder's bank. And then so what the issuer looks at is it will receive through the transaction package. It'll say this merchant is 3DS2 enabled. So then the issuer's actually got to do a bit of work, which is validate with the customer. So there might be enough device recognition in that transaction for them to say, this is Save, this is who's doing this transaction. Or if they're not sure, they can do what we call step up. So they'll step up that transaction, pushing out maybe an OTP or a one-time password to the cardholder that they have on record. Now, if it's someone else's card, the cardholder is not going to receive that. So then the cardholder's bank can decline that transaction because they're not getting any response from the cardholder they have on file. But if they let it through, even if they do authenticate it or don't authenticate it, it's their problem now. It's not the merchant's problem. So you can see from that, we're in a less risky environment than what we used to be. And Sam called out PCI, or the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. That's all encapsulated in these gateway offerings. So you can see from that the whole ecosystem is now really de-risked risk, not to absolute zero. You never kid yourself around no risk, but you can see from that's a much better outcome and much better position for enabling more people to trade online in the Pacific than what there is today. And this is what we're working on, advocating and talking to banks and others around. This is the reality of it. So, because we had a Pacific Forum in New Zealand in May. So we bring, Sam came last year. We had Shelley Burrich from Samoa come to give her story. And what we did in that session was we said to the banks, this is it. No more sort of overthinking the risk. You've got SMEs here who are missing out. From this day forward, we're going to commit that we're going to unrelentingly focus on SMEs from here on in, because it can't continue. Because Sam and Shelley are paying a lot of money to get acquired in New Zealand because their own banks won't acquire them in Samoa. So we're talking to the banks around different ways of doing things, different models, so they don't have to do one-to-one integration with merchants. They can use what we call a payment facilitator model, which, Sam would be very good at. Sam is actually a payment facilitator. But, as we said in the room, Shelley's here. If she grew vanilla here in Auckland, you would bank her in a heartbeat. Why? Because she's in Samoa. Is this different? It's just not fair. And we've got the buy-in from the banks to start to do that. So since then we've been sharing different processing models, all of that sort of thing, causing a bit of trouble as well, which you have to bring about change, and then bringing others into that discussion as well, and educating government as well, like SME ministers and people like that who have a responsibility for SMEs. Or in the case of Fiji, Linda Tambua has poverty alleviation and women, which they're all linked, all of those sort of things. So if there's one thing to take away from today from a e-commerce perspective, is this liability shift is a game changer and should be seen as that, and should be leveraged as well. So the benefits of 3DS obviously are better customer verification, and for issuers, the banks that issue the cards, that actually results in more approvals, because they might be declining a transaction because they think it's a fraud or think it's risky, when in fact it's a false positive and it's a good transaction. And over time, they can do it frictionless. So if there's enough data in there for the validation, they don't even have to talk to the customer. It'll just get approved, and it makes for a much better user experience as well. There's less card abandonment for merchants because the issuer is doing the heavy lifting on the authentication. Reduction in fraud. So one bank in New Zealand, they start off with 75% step up, which is expensive because these are SMSs going out there. However, over time, they got smarter with it as they learnt more about the use of the tool. And then those challenges trend downwards over time to almost 10% or less. Plus, also their positive authorization rates increase by about 13%, which means they're getting more approved transactions whilst reducing fraud at the same time. And then step-ups become the exception rather than the rule. And last of all, the liabilities shift away from the merchant, which is great news. I wish I'd have had this years ago when I was working in Westpac. So just a little bit more about what we're doing in the Pacific. So I might actually start at 2018 because that is a foundation project we ran with, because we have to build out digital in the Pacific. So what we had was, back in the day, was the old swipe terminals where the cards were using the magnetic stripe on the back. So we put quite a bit of funding into the market to enable the banks, to support the banks, to get rid of that technology and upgrade it to EMV or chip, as well as tap and go or contactless. And that worked really well. And I'll introduce that to ATMs. I know that, so BSP have some contactless ATMs as well. Like anything, when you bring in a new technology, you need to support people with the implementation of that. So we brought people into market and sat down with the banks so they could implement the technology, and also educate them how to describe that technology and talk to their merchants and cardholders about that technology. And what that did at the time, particularly in Fiji was a real problem. We had old school fraud, counterfeit fraud, as we call it. And people were coming from all around the world because they knew that there was a weak link. And this is, we talked before about shoring up the Pacific. This was a classic example where the fraudsters are international, so they moved all around the world till they find a weak link, and then in they go. So what we're able to do is virtually eliminate the card, what we call card present fraud. So that's fraud where someone's on soil making a transaction and they're ripping money out of ATMs like left, right, and center, and that sort of thing. So I talked before about local banks, indigenous banks. Often they kind of struggle to compete on a global scale with the likes of, ANZ, BSP, Westpac, depending on the country. So what we've done for the last sort of 7 or 8 years is we've been bringing on new banks to us and new banks to MasterCard, enabling them to then provide world-class products to their consumers and do other things as well. So you got BCI Bank at Cook Islands, National Bank, that should be Samoa. It's the territorial bank of American Samoa, National Bank of Samoa, a fintech, so a non-bank, Vodafone Fiji, not a bank. So we were talking before about telcos and the role they play, and I'll share a slide around something really cool that we've done in Fiji most recently. And there's a few others knocking on the door. Since we launched the capability for people to accept payments on their phone, we've got 3 new acquiring banks, 3 in Fiji, and 1 in Cook Islands, which was BCI upgrading their license to be able to acquire. And then there's other things coming to market, again, off the back of the gateway, which is a link to pay. So that's where you can text out a link to a customer who owes you money, and they click on that link and make an online payment direct from their phone. If you're like me and didn't pay your gas bill this month, I got one just the other day, and it's really cool. I just hit the link. My phone remembers my card number, so it's quite easy. So you can see there's quite a lot that we're doing there, in the Pacific. This one's probably one of the best things I've done in my career, I'd have to say. So everyone's heard of M-Pesa or M-Tala or M-Vatu, or depends on where you live. So the M-Pesa was a digital wallet provided by Vodafone. Has all of these awesome capabilities, and was delivering a customer experience that perhaps wasn't being delivered by traditional banks. And what I mean by that is just to open a bank account, in this case, Fiji. That's not an easy thing to do. You've got to have all your paperwork with you. If you don't, you have to start all over again. And I think there's a few nodding heads from Samoa as well. So I think it's not just unique to Fiji. So what we've done is we've put a MasterCard debit card into that app. So what it means is now, rather than all of that, what I can do now is I can actually apply for the card in the Vodafone, in the M-Pesa app. I upload my documents into that app. I take a selfie, and then they do the background work on all of that to make sure their AML KYC is all done. What happens then is, within 72 hours, a virtual card is provisioned into your handset. So you have a card. What we're not at yet is the ability to then tap with that phone, but that's a work in progress. Plus, you still need a physical card to access ATM. You couldn't access ATM on the M-Pesa wallet before, but now you can. And what that's done is, for Vodafone, is we have very stringent licensing requirements, really strong due diligence for a whole bunch of obvious reasons. When the banks heard about this, they kind of liked it, but they're a bit threatened by it, which is kind of good. And all sorts of questions were asked about the bona fides of Vodafone. So a response to that was that they lifted their capability, particularly around KYC and AML, to a level on par with, or maybe even better than, what the banks are demonstrating themselves today. What they also did was, they haven't, a lot of the cards that you see with the other banks are locked down. So you can't just go online and make a transaction. You have to ring up and have it unblocked. So what these guys have done is, well, we're not going to do that, because we have 3 layers of MasterCard security solutions sitting on top of this product. Because, getting back to what I said before, we make sure that people go to market with secure products. And we had a 3-day, what we call an ID spark with Vodafone, before we even launched this, where we locked all of these things down and made sure that no stone was left unturned to deliver a really good product for those people. And what we see on the spend side is really unique use. So people are now subscribing to online training, all sorts of subscriptions and all that sort of thing, because they're now unencumbered. And we think there's a high skew towards millennials in this. I haven't seen the data at that level, but what we're really seeing is less reliance on access to cash, and they're using more e-commerce. If I look at e-commerce and what we call credential on file, where someone provides all their billing and shipping details to a vendor, it's probably in the vicinity of about 80% of the usage, which is, to me and us and even Vodafone, shows if you give people the right product and it's safe and secure, they will use it. And that's kind of been the case, because we did it in a very secure manner. Took a long time, as most things do in the islands, but we're really happy with it. And the take up has, I can't share the numbers, but they had a target for 12 months. In 3 months, they're at 70% of the target, which shows, I showed this to one of my colleagues. I said, well, you've clearly, with Vodafone, developed something that people want. And whilst this is not e-commerce, it just shows that tie-in between digital, because they're going to use those phones for e-commerce anyway. And now they have a capability to shop online as well, whether that's domestically or international as well.
Craig, sorry, time has caught up on us, but cool. I'll give you a few minutes to...
Yeah, I've only got 2 slides. So very, very quickly. So what we've been doing is we have 5 markets with access to spend data for tourism. Next month, we launch soft POS for female SMEs in Fiji, which I've got a slide on that. We've delivered an e-commerce inclusion project for USAID. We run digital safaris, Pacific Forum. We're doing a value study on the value of electronic payments for the economies. And probably the other cool one is the payment ecosystem review. So we agreed on terms with the Vanuatu government last week that we will do a review of their economy and look at ways to digitize that economy. And we can kind of do that anywhere, to be honest. We've done it in quite a few countries around the world. And so I might just finish with this one because this one's super important. So this is the one we're launching next month called Dual Pay. So when we look at when people arrive in Suva by ship, 24% of people don't spend any money at all. Reason being is because the maramas can't actually transact because they only have cash, and people don't like paying, in some cases, $15 Fijian to get access to their own money, so they miss out. So this is for us is a huge development, and we're also already seeing a halo effect of this, whereas you'll see one other bank this year launch this same capability, not just for these SMEs and the women in the markets, but things like taxis and things like that, which are a pain point for visitors to the Pacific when you can't get around anywhere without cash. So I'll stop there. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Yeah, I'll stop there. I'm around, so if anyone wants to talk to me,
Yes,
I'll be here for
yes.
the 2 days. So
Yes, we'll have more time to access and ask Craig any questions that in regards to MasterCard. But a big thank you. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you
for a very good informative session. I think time is actually caught up on us, but a few things that we can gather from the information that have been shared by the 2 speakers is that digital transformation in the financial sector is currently ongoing and it's developing. And we are very grateful that companies like MasterCard, which is not a credit card company, that information we got today, and small micro enterprise business like Mr. Sam have collaborated and partnered to actually develop financial stability in the Pacific region. And we are very thankful for their involvement, especially in Fiji, with the new programs that have been launched in Fiji. We've seen a lot of changes, especially as Craig have highlighted, the previous MasterCard crimes that were happening in Fiji. It was really, really bad. We were having people from the Eastern Europe, Southern Europe coming to Fiji to try and use MasterCard technology to scam the people in the region. And we are very thankful to the new technology that has reduced and cut that off. Now we have the challenges of educating our consumers, the communities, in how to use the new technologies that has been offered by MasterCard. But with that, I would like to, Madam Chair, can we have a few questions for Sam, 1 or 2? Craig, 3 questions for Craig. 3 minutes. Oh, 3 minutes. Okay, that will be 3 questions, 1 question per minute.
I could have kept going.
Noya, yes.
I'll just say there was Visa fraud as well as MasterCard fraud. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I'm Noya. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for giving us the heads up on the approach that you guys did for M-Pesa in Fiji. My question is basically, how would you, as MasterCard, because not every Pacific Island countries are like Fiji. how would you bring that to MNOs in the Pacific that does not access that, financial solutions? Is there?
I don't know. I know why you're asking, because Nora and I have had a few conversations around Tuvalu and what happens there. I think a couple of things to call out with is the reason we needed to partner with Vodafone. That was a domestic solution, which is wonderful, and it does a whole lot of things, but it doesn't help merchants when tourists come in. So I think what we need to do is come up with a blended way to do these, which is kind of what we talked about a little while back. And that's where, we talked to DFAT, we talked to USA, USTDA, all of those people, so that, first of all, to remind them that we're here to help. And then, we don't have it's not a self-serving thing. And that's why I always share what we do, because you can see there that we have people front and center of everything we do, even with our collaborative partnerships. It gets a bit heated. We have to say, no, it's not about us, it's about the people. So I think that's the key to it. The key to, in your case, Tuvalu, is to really think about what it is you're trying to deliver. Because I remember Simon Coffey said, we're getting a cable, we just don't want fast internet. How do we build out on that? And I think the way we do it is through collaboration and have a local element and be able to serve international, because I know that you do want to have tourism in Vanuatu. So it's a matter of talanoa and getting together and working through those with no self-serving, self-interest type things, and leverage the knowledge and the capability of everyone. And I think Tuvalu could be a mixture, which you're probably happy to hear about as a telco person, but you know what I mean? There's no silver bullet to it. It's about sitting down and working through it and really being on top of what the outcome is that you're trying to drive, if that's an answer to that. And we're here to help, so.
Yes, I got another question.
Hi, this is Robert from Vanuatu Regulator. Just a question on data protection laws. Have you had any issues with specific countries coming up with data protection laws?
No, not at all. So when we license someone, which is what we've done, so NBV is one that we've licensed in Vanuatu, for example, they have to essentially upgrade all of that. And then, so that KYC has to be an AML, has to be to our standard, which is a good standard. And it's not a barrier, because you can see we've actually onboarded quite a few banks around the place. And then the network itself is secured by tokenization. So there's very little card numbers going out in the clear anymore that can be pulled down or intercepted. And, we had one issue in Fiji, but we stepped on that pretty quickly to just help people, I guess, get in a better position to secure that data. Because the PCI DSS, which is the payment card industry data security standards, we actually developed that with Visa some years ago, probably close to 20 years ago. And now that PCI Standards Authority is standalone. We're not part of that anymore, but all of our rules have to play into that. So everyone in the ecosystem has a role to play around data security and that sort of thing. I think the only thing around data is the processing side, where I know some governments, aren't too keen on cloud, but I think that's changing, because you'll create a less expensive ecosystem by using. There's a lot of processors around now who are very good at what they do and can do it at a lot cheaper than processing on soil for whatever that reason. And we have to see it anyway, so we can do the processing we need to do. But I don't see it encumbering anything that we do. I share with Save what's happening, and we see it now, which is the scamming that's starting to happen, which is not related to us, but we're still playing a role in helping with that education piece around that, because people are so trusting that someone rings up and said, I'm from a telco. Well, they believe that because they're not expecting someone to do something. So I think that's a really key area of focus going forward. Really simple messaging that says, we're Vodafone, we'll never ask you for this information. You see the banks do it here. We will never ask you for that. Never give over those things. But that's going to take a bit of time. to do that, but we should be getting into that right now to ensure that people aren't falling for it, because they'll feel like it's someone else's fault as well, because I'm not aware of what's happening. And I think we have a role as knowing what's going on to share that, and that's what we're doing. So that's why we've got our cyber forum next month, and we're bringing in 15 people from around the Pacific, not just banks, law enforcement, so Salve and James coming from Fiji, ICT government person from PNG, Reserve Bank of Fiji, so that everyone can collaborate together. Again, it's not about us, it's about the people in the middle, and the way we drive that is through appropriate collaboration, no matter what the issue is. We need to collaborate and share learnings, so that we're not starting from behind. You're learning from sort of other markets who may have had the misfortune to have bad things.
Yes.
We're getting the wind up now. For the
can I ask for the microphone?
It's not me holding him up from lunch.
Yes, that is how exciting this presentation is, and I would like to thank the two speakers. I hope Sam is still online. Yes, Sam, thank you very much, and Mr. Craig, thank you very much for the very informative session. I know there's a lot that can be discussed in this forum, and we are looking forward to the tomorrow's the working group, where we can all discuss this and share the views from different Pacific Island countries, and how we can collaborate better with organizations such as MasterCard. But with all of that, we would like to show our biggest thanks to the two presenters and to you all. Nakavalo.